I'm Kathy Fettke, co-CEO of Real Wealth Network, and I want to talk to you about raising money for real estate deals and how to do that right and how you can do that very, very wrong. Just this week, I was invited to speak at Crowdconverge in Las Vegas on a crowdfunding panel with a lot of people in the audience who really wanted to learn how to raise money. And that's been something that at Real Wealth Network has been really easy for us to do. In fact, the first time I even tried, one of my partners or one of our members in the network was a long-time developer, a 40-year veteran developer. And he came to us in 2010. You can't find these deals right now, but found a subdivision, actually 27 townhomes, waterfront in Oregon, actually in Portland, Oregon, right by the Fremont Bridge, waterfront in the Pearl District. Amazing deal that went to the FDIC because the bank had failed. That was back when banks were failing left and right. And because of that, the construction loan disappeared. The developer couldn't finish his project and lost it, unfortunately. We came along and we were able to buy that property, all 27 townhomes that were actually finished. They just needed final interior work. We were able to buy those for $3 million when the loan alone had been $13 million. So it was an incredible opportunity, and nobody had money. No banks had money to lend. So it was an incredible opportunity to syndicate and raise money. So I sent out an email to our list at Real Wealth Network to see if anybody was interested. And within a few hours, we had commitments for the $3 million. It was so quick and easy. But I have since learned to never, ever take anything lightly when investing with other people's money. In this case, the investors did really well, but we ran into all kinds of issues because heads up, buying a almost finished project is much harder than it sounds. I mean, we literally just had to finish off the interiors, but it wasn't quite as easy as we thought. Fortunately, the developer had, like I said, 40 years experience, so he was able to maneuver through those difficulties and challenges that the city put us through to get this project finished. But we did it, and then it was right in the middle of the Great Recession, the double dip actually, where there was no financing for townhomes. So we had 27 townhomes with no financing, but we found one bank that would do it, and we were able to sell them, and the investors made over 20% annualized. So it worked out. But some of the things that I learned through that experience that I didn't know was that there's a whole bunch of rules around raising money. And so for one, you cannot advertise it unless you're crowdfunding. And so you would need to talk to an attorney about what that means. But basically with a Reg D 506C, the C stands for crowdfunding. I don't know if it does, but that's how I look at it. And that means that you can advertise to try to raise money for projects, but it can only go to accredited investors, and they have to prove that they're accredited, which means that a CPA has to give a letter, or the financial planner has to give a letter stating that that this investor has either $1 million net worth, $1 million net worth, excluding your home residence, or earns $200,000 as an individual or $300,000 as a married couple. And they have to prove that and verify it with a crowdfunding filing. But you can also do a private placement, which is what we did. It's a private placement syndication, which means you can't advertise it. You can't talk about it to anybody that you don't know and you don't have a prior existing relationship with. Now, the SEC doesn't really define what that is, but it just has to be a prior existing relationship. So a lot of attorneys have told me that can mean 3 touches, meaning that you've met them, you've maybe talked to them on the phone, and you've had some email. That's just kind of a loose generalization of how to define that prior existing relationship. And so these are things I just really didn't know at the time. And fortunately, that project went really well and everybody made their money. But if it hadn't, it could have been a really bad thing for me because I didn't follow the security law properly. Now, we know right now that President Trump is looking at the Dodd-Frank Act, which is where a lot of this new crowdfunding stuff has come from with the Jobs Act. And so We know that there's going to be changes there, but we're really hoping those changes won't be affecting crowdfunding, because it really is an incredible opportunity to be able to raise money for deals. And there's about between, I think it's 23 or $25 trillion out there in retirement accounts invested in the stock market, which is terrifying. Well, I should say $25 trillion in retirement accounts, but only about 3% of that is self-directed and in alternative assets outside of the stock market. So there's a whole lot of money, trillions of dollars out there in retirement funds from baby boomers, many of them baby boomers who are facing retirement and have spent their whole life earning this income for retirement. And, it's teetering in this stock market that is, overvalued for sure. So you have an opportunity to raise money. You just got to do it right. So make sure before ever talking to investors about any kind of deal that you understand the law when it comes to private placements and crowdfunding. So with private placements, again, you need to make sure that you go to those people with a prior existing relationship. You can have a small amount of non-accredited investors in a Reg D 506B, which is not crowdfunding, private placement, but mostly they have to be accredited. But with crowdfunding, they have to all be accredited for you to be able to advertise and market it to the public. So I hope this was helpful to you in learning how to raise money for your great real estate deals. And as a final thought, remember that when you are investing other people's money, you've got to take everything even more seriously than as if it were your own. You don't want to be saddled with the burden of losing somebody's retirement. That's a terrible feeling, and also can cause you some serious legal issues too. So make sure that you are offering great deals where you've done all your thorough due diligence and everything, that you have the right team in place before offering that to investors. Once again, I'm Fettke, co-CEO of Real Wealth Network, and thanks for joining me.